Hi, this is a Mobius strip. It's a very mysterious object. Find out more in a few minutes. Welcome to Square Ruth. Square Ruth is my nickname, and Square Ruth is my TV show. Today is part 2 of my 3-part series on how to think like Da Vinci, how to Davincify your brain, how to make your brain so flexible that you can do math and art. I was a math teacher. I also taught art. And I would get my students to see things like this because math can be very dry, but it's also magnificent. Then I see that if you can find a way to make your brain flexible, you can do math and flip how you do math and do art. That's what this 3-part series is about. This Mobius, this is a one-sided piece of paper. My 2 fingers are on the same side of this piece of paper. I have made this out of paper. You need to do this, you cut yourself some strips of paper. Take one of them. You can make a loop like this, but this is not a Mobius. You have to turn one side over. Now it's a Mobius. Then you tape it. Tape it thoroughly. Don't leave anything sticking up on both sides, but it's only one-sided. Now, I'm starting with this because it's mysterious. Da Vinci, well, we should call him Leonardo. Leonardo really liked mysterious things. He said it's good for the brain. Optical illusions, brain teasers, puzzles, anything that has a contradiction, like my 2 fingers are on the same side of a piece of paper. Okay. This is a one-sided piece of paper. If you take a pencil or pen and start marking it, mark the inside, then mark the outside, you'll see it only has one side. How could that possibly be? A one-sided piece of paper. You'll come back right to where you started without picking up the pencil or pen going to the other side. And then, well, you see what happens when you cut it in half. I hope you're getting the sense of mystery. Leonardo called it sfumato, mysteriousness. All right, you think I'm going to get 2 of these, right? No, I get only 1. That does not happen with a regular loop or a regular strip of paper, but with a Mobius it does. Then wait till you see what happens if I cut it in thirds. All right, when you cut, don't come from the outside and cut. It destroys the Mobius. You have to pinch and snip so that you have something to stick the scissors into. All right, I'm going to go 1/3 of the way over. See, when I taught math, I would bring these things in because students need to see why the subject you're teaching lights you up. When I learned about this, I said, I see it and I don't believe it. This really got me. All right, so I'm cutting this in thirds. You think I'm going to get one long loop? No. I get a little one and a big one. This is what Mobius does. And then I Googled Mobius. I've been teaching about Mobiuses since the 60s. I started teaching in the 60s. And I Googled it to see, is there anything new? And I found out about this, where you take a Mobius and a regular old loop, You put them at right angles to each other, and you tape it all together. So that's what this is. I'm going to cut these in half. I saw this, and my mouth dropped open. I said, oh, I see this, and I do not believe it. So I'm going to cut these in half. You pinch and snip. All right, I'm cutting the regular loop in half. I watched this on a video, and I said, what could this be? And then I'm cutting the other loop in half. And then I open it up. You get a square. A square. Now, if you have a nickname of Square Ruth, this is really appealing to you. So I saw this and said, oh, this is wonderful. So this, I felt, got me moving. And whenever I do my workshop about Leonardo da Vinci, I do this with grade 3 through adult. And everybody gets surprised at this. All right, now your brain is loosened a little bit with sfumato. That's what this is all about, brain flexibility. You could either have your brain with a fixed mindset. No, I am the way I am. Like in the old days, we saw Popeye. I am what I am, and that's all what I am. You want a growth mindset. Carol Dweck wrote a book about mindset. You can find new ways to do things. You can grow new brain cells till you die. There's science that shows with neuroplasticity and neural networks, you can do things that you never thought you could, but you need a new mindset. Today we're going to do more with drawing. The part 3 has more math in it, even though the Mobius was math still. I love this square. All right. You don't want to have perfectionism. Perfectionism sets in. Everyone under age 10 can draw. If you said to a kid, draw me a bunny, I'll draw you a bunny, and be thrilled. But sometimes things get said, either compliments or criticisms or teasing, or you're in a family where you have a sister or a parent that's a fabulous artist, and you say, oh, I can't compete with that. Or perfectionism sets in. There's 2 kinds of perfectionism. There's the good kind that makes you do a good job. And there's the bad kind that says, oh my goodness, I can't do a good job, so I can't be perfect, so I won't do anything. It paralyzes you. So watch out for perfectionism. Perfectionism killed the cat. It was not curiosity. It's perfectionism. You got to fight it. All right. Now, today is about drawing. It's about realistic drawing. In part 1, I told you about how I found this book by Betty Edwards, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. And I saw that, and I used it for teaching math. As I said in part 1, I said to my students, and I showed them the book and so forth, and I said, we're going to do the opposite of what this book says to make your brain flexible to do math. And then I was teaching in a small school, and there was no art department, and they said to me, Ruthie, why don't you go to Southern and get certified to teach art and start an art department here? Then you can teach math and art. Oh, it was heaven. And I learned that you can use that book also to teach art. There are ways that you do not have to be born doing art. You can learn it. You can learn specifically what artists do, the way an artist sees. What does it mean to see the way an artist sees? I'll be telling you in exact detail as to what they do. Now, today it's about rendering. They call realistic drawing rendering. You don't have to be able to draw realistically to be an artist. Like, look at this picture of Leonardo da Vinci. This is not realistic. This has emotion. It has feeling. This is not realistic art, but it's art. Abstract art can be more realistic, actually. It can express more emotion than a realistic drawing. You can take a picture of something and get a realistic representation of it. So why draw realistically? Well, it's a skill. And what it takes to loosen your mind to do that, you can flip what you do and tighten your mind to do math. That's my method. That's what I was inventing. That's what I said to students. You want to make your brain flexible. You want tight thinking for math. Where there's a rule, you follow the rule. If you don't know the rule, you go on your cell phone and you get the rule. It's as handy as a cell phone. Videos of wonderful, kind explainers who will show you how to do decimals, fractions, equations, calculus. But you have to follow the rules. But with art, you have to think in a looser way. You have to allow the object to control you. All right, to see. We don't see with our eyes. You think we see with our eyes. Anybody would say, yes, we do see, but we don't. If your eyes were perfectly healthy, but your optic nerve that sends the signals to your brain, if that were damaged, you couldn't see. You see with your brain. All your eyes do is let in light, and your brain decides what that light is showing to you. Different people seeing a scene or an event will see it different ways because they see with your brain, not with your eyes. But you have to use your eyes to see, to let that light in. Once we start drawing, you're going to look for dot, circle, arc, line, angle. Those 5 things make up art, drawing, realistic drawing. It's like a 26-letter alphabet making up millions of words. This is a 5-part alphabet that allows you to draw. But Leonardo said, don't start drawing right away. You should scribble first because it relaxes your mind. All right, let's start drawing. But first we scribble. I have this fancy pen, the Apple Pencil, and the iPad. Now, when I scribble, I like to meander. Something about that. Now, when you scribble, you want to let go of what's bothering you. If something is making you angry, or if you have worries, just do any kind of mark that is meaningful to you that allows you to just loosen your brain. You might even want to do this before you do math because you want to let go of the emotions. You'll see next time math is very emotional if you're stuck. Anyone who gets stuck on a problem and gets worried, they know how emotional math is. Well, for some people, they freeze up when it's time to do art. Oh no, not me, nuh-uh. So you want to let go of that. Okay. Now, let's say we're going to draw. I'm going to put my finger like this. I may let these fingers go here. And if you notice, if you put your hand like that, I'm just going to draw this part in the corner, right in the middle, where my finger is bent. In the center there, oops, wait a second. All right, in the center, and you go very, very, very slowly. This is kind of a dot. It's formed with four arcs. That's right in the middle. And then I'm going very slowly. Now, I'm not thinking about this. There's math you can draw from thinking or from memory, or you're designing. Not math, art. There's art you can draw from thinking or memory. That's also art. But for rendering, and we're doing a contour drawing. These lines, the contours, are controlling the movement of the pencil. All right, if you go fast, that means your mind is controlling it. You got to be so picky, it's unbelievable. Now I see an angle. It's going up from this. And you want to see how it's related to stuff. This is a longer line, this is a shorter line. It's just about this angle. And then a line comes down here. And then there's a little line over here The older you get, the more lines there are. And that's the way it is. All right, then, this is not a line. This has a little arc here. And then it goes over. Then it goes down, and there's a little dot there. Remember, dot, circle, arc, line, angle. You follow this, and this controls you. You're giving up control to the object for this kind of drawing. This is not where you're designing something in your mind. Then if you do the outside edge, you go so slow, you pretend you're a tiny little person walking along the edge, and as your eye moves along the edge, all right, now it goes up a little bit. You make your pencil point go up a little bit. If you want to move down here, near that, you can do this. You get the idea. This is what it takes to do some rendering. You can draw fast. Some people draw fast. That's a different kind of drawing. Rendering is very slow. What that does is treat your brain as something very flexible, because you realize there's a time for letting my brain not follow a rule, that an object is controlling where my pencil point moves. And that's giving up control. One person in one of my workshops said, I never realized that drawing was that easy. I never thought I could draw. You let this control you, and you can draw. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful feeling to see people who don't believe they can draw give up the control, and they learn how to draw. That's the loose thinking, but there's still a discipline to it. You don't want to tell yourself, no, I have to do it a certain way. Yeah, well, if you were in my drawing class, I had high school students come in for their exam at the end of the drawing class. I said, all right, put your hand like this. Yeah, try this. Put your hand like this, aimed right at your nose. I said, this is your final exam. Draw that. And they drew it. I mean, really, if you put your hand like that and you look at those fingertips, they do not look like fingertips. Your fingernails look very strange. The knuckles, I mean, these look like flat-top mountains there. And then all these angles. But it actually came out because they learned how to let this control your pencil point. If you do that, you can draw anything. And then you'll see how we're going to shift that over in order to do math. We're going to take, for instance, the golden rectangle that you use for drawing. Wait till you see. We'll do things like this next time. And this is the ratio of 3 to 5, and that's 60%. Golden ratio is actually more like 62%. But how do you take a 3 and a 5 and get a 6? You don't just look at it. You have to follow a rule. It's a different kind of thinking. And the rule controls you. The rule in your mind controls you. And if it's not in your mind, it's on your cell phone. If you don't have a cell phone, you're within 10 feet of one. You can borrow one. And just Google, change a fraction to a decimal. It's not like the old days where you had to memorize every single thing. Now, you can have access to it in a much more realistic, wonderful way. You can relax. So what you want to do is let go of the emotions. That's a very important thing. One important idea is that emotions can block you. They can stop you from doing art, and they can really stop you from doing math. Next time, in part 3, math anxiety will be the topic. Some people fear math more than anything. They feel they'd rather put their hand on a hot stove than do math. Or they'd rather walk along the top of a skyscraper than do math. It's that frightening to them because they believe that if they do math, they'll get it wrong. Well, you might be very close to doing it right, but you don't know. You need someone calm with you to help you through it. Someone who won't say things like, "What are you, stupid? I just explained that. Weren't you paying attention? Oh, I don't know why you don't get this. There is nothing hard about this." And they roll their eyes at you. Well, what do they think that's doing to your brain? The fog, the going blank, it destroys you from doing math. Well, wait till you see the secrets next time. The 5 secrets of what mathematicians do. Mathematicians love to go blank. In fact, if they don't go blank, They feel like they're just doing busy work. They want to have a challenge. They want to really think about it. And they have these little techniques I'll show you next time for what to do when you go blank. How do you relax into it? And then exactly what do you do in math to get out of the blank? That's a beautiful thing. It's great to watch people do that. I've been teaching math since the 60s. And to get a person to understand math is the most beautiful thing because it opens up their future. If you have a math background, you can major in just about anything. You have your choice. If you don't have a math background and you want a professional career, you have only a little list of what you can pick from. So I open up people's futures for them as a math teacher. A math teacher is a very important person in a student's life. All right, now I have a quotation for you, from Henry Ford. Henry Ford was born very poor, and he developed the Ford Motor Company, a massive corporation that did very well. And his saying was, if you believe you can, or if you believe you cannot, you're right. If you believe that you're not going to draw no matter what, you won't draw. You'll stop yourself from drawing. If you believe there's no way you're going to do math, you'll stop yourself from doing what it takes to learn math. In fact, wait till you see next time. I'll talk about why smart people often hate math. Why the things that it does, that you have to do math, sometimes you say to yourself, I'm smart. I should not have to do this and follow this rule and do what this person says and so forth, and it comes out right and I get an A. That's an insult to my intelligence. Little kids can think that way, and they don't learn the basics. And it's like the foundation of a house. You have to have the basics in order to get the whole house built, which is something I've been teaching kids for a long time. It's one of my nagging things that I do. But they know I love math. They know that they're important to me. And I have that saying on the board. If you believe you can, or if you believe you cannot, you are right. So think about your mindset. Think about what are you going to choose to do. You've got 3 videos here about what it takes to do math and art and make your brain flexible. Watch them. Take a chance. Tell yourself, yeah, I can do that. And let's see what happens. You might surprise yourself. See you next time on Square Ruth.